In this video, I want to highlight why a lot of the expert advice you hear or see about retirement is ultimately misguided. And there's 7 elements of your retirement where expert advice is frankly irrelevant. Welcome to What Happens Next. Welcome back to the What Happens Next channel, the channel dedicated to making sure that you're really well informed in your 50s and 60s about the things you need to consider when you're thinking about retirement or whatever that next chapter is in your life. Now, the reason we don't only talk about retirement as a concept is for a lot of my clients in my day job and for a lot of people we speak to more generally, retirement is as a concept, just stopping work and just spending time relaxing isn't a concept that they're particularly enamoured with, and they want to look at what happens next. But often that what happens next means less work, that what happens next means more balance, that what happens next just includes component parts that improves their well-being in a number of areas. Now, the reason I run this channel is because for 20 years now, I've helped clients successfully retire or move on to that next stage of their lives. But increasingly, what I've realised is experts haven't got all the answers. I might be shooting myself in the foot here. And the first question I haven't got an answer to that I'd love you to comment in the comments. And I've got to apologise because I need to get some better props for my YouTube channel. But what's better, the pink highlighter or the green highlighter? Please let me know in the comments. Or any other colour. What's the best highlighter colour? I'm really curious to ask. But that's not what this video's about. This video is about the quality and the relevance of advice. And my personal opinion is that actually advice is everywhere. We're bombarded with advice online, on social media, on YouTube, everywhere. And we're bombarded with advice in person. We've got family, we've got friends, we've got colleagues, we've got Steve down the pub. And I love Steve down the pub, but I'm not sure that his advice is always that relevant. There's all of that noise coming at you. And there's people like me, experts in a particular area who share hopefully good quality information with good intentions. And this is my challenge with a lot of advice. Context matters, and the advice you often get is often from the perspective of the giver of that advice. But they don't live in your shoes. They don't live your life. And actually answering these 7 questions that I'm going to talk about now is an important first step to working out what happens next or what retirement looks like for you. Let's start with number 1, how you define success. I don't know about you, but I often find when I look at people when they talk about success, they talk about their version of success. And the reality is success can be defined in so many ways. I'm sure success in your life has changed over the years. And interestingly, I was having a conversation with a client yesterday who used to, in his 20s and 30s and early 40s, define success from the purposes of money, but has changed his mind. And actually, his version of success is a lot more balanced and a lot broader nowadays. Now, your success will be defined by you. For me, it's about balance. For me, it's about health. It's about time with people I love and like. It's about relationships. It's about financial well-being and financial independence. It's about all of those elements. And it's also about making sure I maintain physical fitness. But your balance might be different to mine. The point that I'm making here is my version of success shouldn't be yours. Your version of success is most important. And the starter is working out what successful means to you. So the starter question that I'd ask is, what does success mean to you? How do you define success? And how do you get closer to your version of a successful life from where you are today? And this comes on to point 2, which is a bit of a variation on the theme on the question on point 1. What is your version of a life well lived? Now, I always imagine a really somber scenario. And again, I'd recommend that you watch the video from the interview we did with a guy called George Kinder, who talks a lot about this. We'll put some details in the show notes so you can take a look at that video. But he asks a really interesting question. If you know you only had a day to live, what would you regret? Now, my version of a life well lived, and again, you shouldn't trust my expert opinion, you should come up with your own, includes the things that I think about I'd regret not doing if I was on my deathbed today. You know, it's the old Stoic philosophy of memento mori. It's thinking about death and thinking about the stuff we want to do. Now, no expert advisor can give you their opinion on what's important to you and what's included in a life well lived for you. Only you can come up with that answer. The third thing nobody can answer for you is your financial enough. Now, it's always interesting when we ask clients at Savello, our chartered financial planning practice, and my day job as a chartered financial planner gives me bucket loads of insight into this question. When we ask people about the income they need to live the lives they want, to live their version of a life well lived, often we get the following answer. And the answer comes in the form of a question. And it's, what does everybody else say? And I get it. Humans are social. However, the reality is that most people's enough might not be yours. And it's one of the reasons that even though experts publish the average amount you might need, it's worth digging a bit deeper from a financial perspective to work out what your enough is. And the good news is there's a really simple tool to do that. And that's the budget planner. Now, if you'd like a copy of the budget planner Savello uses, my financial planning business, there's a QR code below. Click on that and you'll immediately get access to this absolutely free resource. We'd love for you to have it, because working out how much you need to spend in today's money and working out the stuff you want to do with your time and the cost of that would be the starting point for me to make sure that you're thinking about the amount you need to make sure that you can live the life you want and have enough. The fourth thing no expert can answer is about happiness. And it's just simply what makes you happy. You know, I like music festivals and concerts. Not so keen on camping, by the way. I like cycling. I'm currently learning to play paddle tennis. I love travel and I love socialising with people I love and like. I love to read, and after writing a couple of books now and working on the What Happens Next book, I'm hopefully becoming a better writer. Now, I'm pretty sure that my list of the stuff that I love and like will evolve over time. But I'm also pretty confident that your list is going to be different. My idea of happy is going to be different to yours. And the challenge I've got with expert opinion is often they look at it from their perspective of happy. Now, I think it's always worth, when we're thinking about our own happiness, exploring our memories on this one. And I think there's 3 questions based on some of the interviews we've done on What Happens Next that are going to help us define what our version of happy looks like. The first question I'd ask is, when did you simply just have a brilliant time? I think the last time I had a brilliant time was Christmas Day with my family, just sitting down, playing silly games and having a great time. The answer to this question, when did you last simply have a great time, tells us a bit about what we love to do, just simply enjoying ourselves. Or as the ancient Greeks might have put it, improving our hedonistic well-being. Now, happiness comes in many forms, and the second question is about purpose. Because What I'd also ask to work out what truly makes you happy is, what was the last time you did something challenging with meaning and purpose that was hard at the time, but you're really glad you did? Understanding this allows us to focus on our eudaimonia well-being, because as humans we need to make sure that to make us as happy as we can, we do stuff that's challenging but also is worthwhile. And then the third element is, when was the last time you did something that was bigger than you, that gave you a sense of awe? Because actually, and the Greeks used to call this chaironic well-being, actually doing stuff in the community, dancing in a field with thousands of people, looking up at the stars, being in nature, can give you that sense of awe that really improves our levels of happiness. Now, again, no expert's going to tell you your unique answers to these questions, but I'd suggest that simply asking these questions of yourself will give you an insight, because once you've got the answers, you can spend more time doing things like that. The fifth question that I'd ask, and the area that no expert's going to give you any insight in until you've worked out yourself, is, who do you love and like? I like the psychologist Esther Perel's really succinct phrase: the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives. And the big question here is, if you were to look in the mirror today, how much time do you invest in nurturing and improving your relationships? Because improving and nurturing relationships does take time. Now, no expert can tell you who you love and like. No expert can tell you who might not be a friend yet but might be in the future. The power to build and nurture these relationships is ultimately in your hands. My experience, though, is that investment of time in those relationships is really important. The sixth area where experts have very limited insight, but you've got the answers to, is what your ideal balance looks like. Now, a lot of my clients come to me when their balance has been skewed towards work for many years, and they're potentially looking to get that balance right in other areas of their lives. That might still include work, but the balance might be different. But my experience as well is the balance evolves and changes over time. I think a really good start to 10 is to use the quiz we've built on what happens next in this area. And you can find that on the QR code below. And it will give you an insight into where your balance is currently. But ultimately, you decide whether the balance is right for you. You don't need an expert to work out what the right balance is for you. And as I say, it's probably going to change and evolve over time. But looking at how you spend your time currently and what you'd ideally like to be doing might be a great starter. And feel free, as I say, to use the free quiz on the What Happens Next website. My last point, and I have a lot of conversations about this in my day job, is how you want your wealth to support your family. And it's really interesting because I've got clients who have an intention to spend all of their money before they go. I remember having a conversation with a client once who actually said to me, "Can you make sure I diet skin?" But for a lot of us, there's a bit more balance, because actually what we might want to do is make sure we can live a life, but also provide a legacy to the ones we love. Now, this is a deeply personal decision, and there's so many factors to consider, including your relationship with money, your kids' relationship with money, your feeling on mitigating tax. I'm having a lot of conversations about inheritance tax at the minute, and your relationship with your kids. Now, ultimately, an expert might add a bit of value by being able to ask the right questions and support you with some technical information to understand the implications of helping your next generation or kids or grandkids or whoever you want to help. And what they might be able to do is reassure you to make that decision easier. However, the decision to support your kids and or grandkids now, or wait, or use trusts, or many of the other decisions that you need to make are all about you. So, in summary, I think experts do have a part to play, but ultimately it's really important that you answer those 7 questions to help you work out what your good looks like. But I'm really curious, and I'd love for you to let me know what you think in the comments. Where do you think experts add value? And where do you think they overstretch and give advice that might not be relevant to you? I really want a more nuanced conversation about how we live, all of us, live better later lives. And I'd really appreciate your comments below. Also, I'd love for you, if you've got this far, to like this video if you think it's been of value, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. My aim at What Happens Next is to have better conversations about planning for retirement, and having you like this video and subscribe to the channel will really help us share these messages and help people empower themselves to have better retirements or whatever happens next in their lives. Also, I've got a couple of recommendations for you, and you should have 2 videos popping up on the screen right now. One was the interview that I mentioned with George Kinder, and the other one is about the financial planning mistake most people make. I hope you enjoy those videos. We'll see you soon on What Happens Next. Have a lovely day.